Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 1, Episode 3. Man, there is a lot in this episode. There's stuff in this episode I didn't think we were going to get until like Episode 5 or Episode 6 here.
Yeah, we're halfway through, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, they have really packed in a lot. I truly think that this should have been way longer than 6 episodes because we've already had the confrontation with Darth Vader and
Yeah.
Obi-Wan, and oh my God, it was everything I hoped it would be. I mean, I remember when I was much too young to be watching Star Wars and I first saw Darth Vader. He scared the life out of me. And now I am 47-year-old lady and he is still scaring the life out of me. That whole scene of him walking through the town, breaking necks, dragging people through the streets, screaming, just the breath, the voice, all of it. I was just like, chills. He is still the baddest dude in the universe.
He really was like, I will show you literally fighting fire with fire in this episode. We've got that to get into, a whole lot more. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. You know, we're here every week talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, and also not too long from right now, The Boys Season 3 is finally going to be here, which if you love that show, and you really should, it's insane, we will be discussing that as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited for The Boys. It's such a good show.
It is, this is just like the week of violence, because we know The Boys is going to be violent, and this episode was really freaking violent.
Okay, let's talk about that whole scene, because for me, that was it for me. I was just like, put me to bed. It is done. This is amazing. It played out so well for the most part. We had, Obi-Wan is a little bit rusty, and we knew that he would be, and he was. So, I mean, the fight was good, but it really was. Darth Vader was there to take the W and walk away. And I know that at the end, Obi-Wan was helped by Tala, this sort of new person that we've met here today. And but by the end of this, when he was like, put all this fire and was dragging Obi-Wan through the fire, I'm like, oh my God, this is so intense. I was kind of surprised when Tala showed up and saved Obi-Wan, where, all of a sudden there was more fire, and Darth Vader was just kind of looking over the fire being like, damn, lost him again. I'm just kind of like, why didn't you just use the Force and put out the fire? Or why didn't you use the Force and just lift him over the fire or drag him through the fire? Like, you have the power to be able to not lose him.
There are a couple of logic-themed questions that I think we can ask in this episode. Like, there's a couple of things that I'm like, that's a little bit convenient. Like, there's no denying that battle with Vader and Obi-Wan was just so intense. And hearing James Earl Jones's voice and just sort of getting into this particular world again, like the biggest sort of takeaway I have from all of it, and I don't even know if this is a criticism or not, because it's going to depend a lot on these next few episodes, but I didn't think we were going to get this until episode 5 or 6. I thought this was going to be kind of the climax of the story that we were building to for so long, but it is kind of like, okay, we've already had Vader versus Obi-Wan now, so where do you go from here? How is it going to be more intense than this?
I mean, one of the things that I would think that we might be seeing is just sort of a sequence of Obi-Wan really training to get himself back to where he was. Because, I mean, this battle between the two, we've already seen that Obi-Wan was able to beat him when he was Anakin, but I've always felt that Anakin and Darth Vader is more powerful than Obi-Wan, so I just don't know really where it's going to end up going within this series.
And I think
we all know where it's going, but within this series.
I think the other thing is just that we sort of know that everybody makes it through, so there's not like that sort of suspense of, oh, is this person going to die at any given moment? So it's like, okay, how do we find a way to build suspense then with that knowledge in mind? And I just think Obi-Wan, his advantage over Vader is probably just that he could think a little bit more outside the box. I think Vader has got the total tunnel vision going on right now of, I want revenge, I will burn you, I will literally do to you exactly what you did to me. And maybe he's not going to be the most creative thinker down the road here.
Yeah, that's the thing, is we all know that both of them are going to get out of this alive. Like I said, we all know where this is
Yeah.
going. But this journey of sort of that confrontation and, subsequent confrontations, I'm sure we're going to see another confrontation. This can't be the last sort of in this particular series of, how then is it going to play out? Because, Obi-Wan is pretty rusty. He hasn't, been practicing the Force in a long time. He's still really dealing with everything he's feeling inside, all his guilt. He trained him and he was supposed to be the one that balanced everything out. And then, how could he? And the betrayal and the hurt. And Darth Vader's not feeling those things. He's just pissed off. Where on the other side, we have Obi-Wan who's dealing with like guilt and, feeling bad and putting himself down. And how could he? And just all these different emotions.
Okay, so here's how I relate to Obi-Wan, because I know this is really why everybody is watching these videos, so that they can hear how I relate to a Jedi Master. So, okay, when I was in college, I played intramural basketball. I was not that good, but I could shoot some threes, I could block some shots, I could do a couple of different things. So Obi-Wan right now is like me going down to the park and trying to play a little bit of basketball when I haven't done it in like 12 years. I'm going to like brick every shot. I can't like block anything. I can barely get like an inch off the ground. Like I gotta do some training. I gotta do some practice. Obi-Wan, you gotta go to the metaphorical basketball court at this moment and try to find a way to hone these skills to get back out there.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Obi-Wan's in a really tough spot right now. He's just been dragged through the fire, strangled by Vader.
Yes.
He's lost the fight. And now he's also lost little Princess Leia. So there was this whole sort of sequence where Tala was helping them sort of get away through this thing called the path, where they were able to, get her through the path. But who was waiting on the other side? Reva, being like, oh yeah, that person's not here to take you. I am. I'm like, oh no.
All right, Reva, first of all, I know, given your placement in the world here, I'm sure you haven't done a lot of like acting training here. I'm speaking about Reva, of course, the character. Like, Leia's not going to be altogether psyched when you're like, I am here to take you, in this very intimidating sort of tone. You gotta practice a little bit here of a delicate touch here, Reva. I would run the other way if I am Leia at this point.
Yeah, a little bit of acting skills like Leia, who's like, we love the Empire. They're great. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. Leia is really like firing on all cylinders in this episode here. Like, okay, so earlier on, we see Leia and Obi-Wan doing their whole journey through the desert here, which, by the way, when Leia starts like running, can't Obi-Wan just like pick her up or do something? He acts like he's completely incapable of stopping her.
I know. I saw that where he's like, okay, you're going to say nothing and do nothing. She starts waving her hands. He's like 2 feet away. He can just scoop her up, run the other way. You are not incapable. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, some things just don't make a lot of sense here. Just a little bit of a different change in the writing. It'll be all right. But okay, eventually they meet here. Freck, Zach Braff, randomly. This was a big blindside, because I didn't really picture Zach Braff when I heard Freck at the end of, like, during the episode, but then in the end credits I was like, Zach Braff, what's John Dorian doing in this? And I was like, oh, he's voicing Freck. Okay.
There are so many good guest spots in all of these Disney shows. It's amazing.
Well, yeah, like, so amazing. It's like, Dear Varma, who plays one of the Sand Snakes, Ilaria Sand, in Game of Thrones. Like, she was Tala, which, by the way, we're going to cover House of the Dragon here at the channel, so make sure you guys don't miss any of that weird connection, too, given that Pedro Pascal, also on Game of Thrones, also The Mandalorian. Everything in Star Wars ties itself back together.
Yeah, it does. And it makes a good amount of sense. I think there's a lot of Game of Thrones people who enjoy Star Wars. I mean, both of these two sort of universes ended up being I think way bigger than people thought initially that they
Yeah.
would be, that it reached a much bigger audience than sort of just us nerds. That it's kind of like it's across generations, it's across, whether you're nerdy or jockey or, whatever, everybody enjoys this.
Did anyone else feel personally attacked when Freck ended up being somewhat of a traitor? I was like, I really like Freck. Freck seems like a cool dude. I want to see more of this, like, mole alien driver. And it's just like, really, Freck? Really?
No, he said it. He was just, when Leia was all like, yeah, we love the Empire. He's like, good, yeah, we all love the Empire. He's got his little flag on the back of his truck. I wasn't too surprised. As soon as he was just like, yeah, hop in, my pleasure. I'm like, oh dear, here we go. It's not your pleasure. It's your pleasure to bring them to the Empire. Here we go.
There needs to be a running tally, by the way, of how many, like, red shirt stormtroopers die every single episode, because I feel like this episode we got, like, well over a dozen in some sort of bizarre shape or form.
Yeah, we saw Freck bring them to this sort of checkpoint where, it got brought out that Obi-Wan is Obi-Wan, and it all went back to Reva and everything that was going on, and he killed the 3 stormtroopers, opened the gate, 3 more get out, and he bends down. I'm like, wait a second, you just killed 3 of them, and now there's just only 3 more. I feel like you can get through this.
Also, stormtroopers kind of idiots, such as the, why did you refer to her as Leia? Oh, it was for this reason. Leia's her mother's name. Really? Stormtroopers? Really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't assume that information spreads throughout the universe, but the senator's daughter is missing.
Yeah.
And her name is Leia. And so, I mean, is it possible that they would have known? It's possible. I mean, Reva even used Leia to draw out Obi-Wan. So even though, her as the bait is done, the information would still be out there that, Reva has done this.
Yeah, it's just
to
like
some degree.
I guess this is just sort of assumed in the Star Wars universe at this point that stormtroopers are like 95% idiots and also 5% way too easy to kill at any given point.
Absolutely. Okay, let's talk about Reva, because she's got a big storyline going on here where she ended up going to Vader and was like, yeah, the Grand Inquisitor's dead. It's Obi-Wan's fault.
Yeah.
And he bought it. He's like, that's fine. I don't care. Basically everyone's replaceable to him. And he said, I see you. I know what you want. So if you bring me what I want, you can be the next Grand Inquisitor.
And I guess good on Reva for being ambitious. I still wish we had more personal backstory on her, because it's just like, other than ambition, it's sort of like, okay, almost any character could be in this spot. What makes Reva in particular so interesting? And, there's a lot of theories out there that, she was one of the children in Revenge of the Sith. And if that's the case, I sure hope we actually get to see a little bit of that on this show.
Yeah, and that if that theory is true, then, she feels pretty betrayed by the Jedi and wants to just, get as deep into the Empire as possible. But, there's a lot of resistance going on from everyone else that's in the group of the Inquisitors that are just like, no, I'm next in line.
This is really I think this fulfills one of our own favorite things here, comparing every show to Succession. Okay, so Darth Vader is now, I guess, Logan Roy.
Oh my goodness.
Does this make Reva Shiv? Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, no, it could be.
It could be, this fifth brother guy. I'm just like, get out of here. Nobody cares about you at this point. I'm excited to see where some of this goes, but I hope there's a couple of creative twists here. Like, I wouldn't mind if Reva I don't know if she's going to learn the error of her ways, but starts to sort of understand more of, okay, maybe what I'm doing here isn't the right way to actually find some sort of self-worth.
I hope she doesn't have any redemption arc. Sometimes you just, especially in this universe, that you just have people who have turned bad, and they have turned bad for a reason that makes sense to them, that can make sense to all of us. It's just, we need to really know more about it, because if this theory that, she was one of the young Jedis being trained, that feels like, she was betrayed, there needs to be a little more squeeze in that fruit.
Okay, now it's time to get to the true MVP of this episode. or I guess I should say MVD, most valuable droid. Ned-B,
Oh,
you
right.
big, hulking, quiet action speak louder than words droid. Not only are you awesome, not only could you take out a lot of people, you are my favorite droid created by Disney since Wall-E. Go ahead, give me all the Ned-B merch.
Wow.
I will support it all. And this
Wow.
dude was so cool. He was like saving lives. He was just like, standing there, like staring down the opposition. Good on you, Ned-B.
All right.
See, here's the thing with a lot of this. They make all the droids like super cutesy, and at
I
times
know.
I liked having a big hulking, like Ned-B's been like hitting the gym. He's been like putting in some reps. I like that he's a little bit different.
No, it is nice to see a little bit of a switch because you're right. I mean, almost all of the droids are really, really cute.
All right, so we are at the halfway point of this show now. I think it's fair to say we're going to see some more showdowns between Vader and Obi-Wan. We're probably going to see some sort of elaborate rescue mission. I hope they come up with a clever way to sort of justify and pay off this whole journey where we see some things that actually kind of make sense when we look at like the original trilogy down the road, and we can sort of say, okay, this is why we needed this. This is why this particular show really mattered beyond just fan service.
Yeah, I mean, I know that this is a limited series, but I mean, there are so many limited series that they were just like, oh, Big Little Lies, limited series. It came back. True Detective, limited series. It came back. Like there's always sort of this, Nine Perfect Strangers. Here it is. It's a limited series. It's coming back. And that's the thing I'm hopeful for because it is so popular and it's doing so well.
Yeah.
And people are really enjoying it that, maybe they'll decide to bring it back if everybody wants to come back. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, they are really packing in the story.
Yes.
So are they going to end it in a way that's just satisfying, where it's kind of like, it doesn't need to come back like Nine Perfect Strangers, which I really enjoyed, but had a very satisfying ending where they were kind of like, oh, we're coming back. I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
Why? You guys made a fantastic show from start to finish. It doesn't need any more, but here we are.
I understand that I'll probably end up wanting more regardless, but I'm going to trust you guys to come up with the satisfying ending and have the self-control that I do not, that if you don't need to make more, don't make more and just give us a good ending.
Yeah.
All right, well, of course, we will be back every week with more of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss any of that. Follow us on Instagram as well, Matt and Jess TV, and we'll see you here next time.